Every guardian in the tower liked the dawning a lot. But the Grump, who lived alone on the moon, did not. The Grump hated the dawning, the whole festive season. Now please don't ask why. Not even his ghost has a reason. It could be that his weapons had terrible perks. It could be perhaps that his armor was covered in dirt. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his Heart of Inmost Light's stats were too small. Whatever the reason, his exotic or gear, he hated the dawning year after year. Staring at Earth from his cave, the Grump saw the last city, glowing with love and warmth. It made him feel icky, for he knew every guardian down in the tower was busy now grinding for power. "And they're baking more cookies!" he screamed with anger. "They'll trade them for engrams and brand new shaders." Then he growled, staring at the last city, taunting, "I must find some way to put an end to the dawning." For tomorrow, he knew, all the guardians would rise and farm for ingredients and waste all their time. And then, oh, the grind. Oh, the grind. That's one thing he hated, the grind. Then the guardians would sit down and bake. And they'd bake, and they'd bake, and they'd bake. Bake. They would bake hot crossfire buns and infinite forest cake, which was something the Grump just couldn't take. And then they'd do something he hated the most. Everyone down there, guardian and ghost, would take a moment between strikes to stop shooting. They'd give all their treats away and go looting. They'd loot, and they'd loot, and they'd loot. And the more the Grump thought about all the loot, the more the Grump thought, "I must give the dawning the boot. Why, for 7 years I've put up with it now. I must stop all the happiness and cheer. But how?" Then the Grump was overcome with madness. He realized what he could do, how to make it happen. He would find new lights in crucible matches. In each match, he was the only one sweating. He shredded his enemies and made them confetti. The foul Grump was so incredibly petty, he shoulder-charged teammates out of his way to steal heavy. He dug through his vault with a quickness and summoned a weapon for all to bear witness. "There's no way these guardians will ever forget this," he shouted as he dumped round after round of sweet business. He cackled and screamed as he fired the thing and left any match against a full fire team. To make his enemies pay, there would be no doubt he would have to use his most toxic loadout. He found new lights alone and struck from the dark and quickly poisoned their fun with Le Monarque. The new lights were too fresh with few skills mastered. They tried to fire fusion rifles, but his charged faster. The newborn guardians came together to give him some trouble. They finally had him cornered, and then he popped bubble. He danced from within and felt nothing but giddy. Today was the day he got back at the last city. Despite his intent to make new lights feel hatred, the Grump was surprised to receive commendations. One young guardian told him, "I can't wait to be as strong as you are." Instead of being despised, the Grump was their star. He had done his best to cause mayhem that day, to fill the crucible with anger and rage. But the new lights adored him, and his ghost informed him he had been invited to play. Then he growled, "How could this be? My plan was so clever. Their dawning should be ruined, not stronger than ever." Perhaps, he thought, the dawning was more than just loot and ingredients. Perhaps it was about coming together for a joyous experience. In that moment, the Grump decided that he would spread cheer. He flew back to the tower for the first time in years. But what could he give to everyone to show that he loved them? Then he recalled his first dawning and pulled out an old, rusty oven. He baked treats for Zavala, Shax, Drifter, and Saint. Then he carried a few new lights through their first raids. He made more snacks for Ikora, Soraya, and Eva. He even protected some Smolin from a cluster of Siva. This dawning, he did his best to be more than a curmudgeon. From baking treats to helping new lights with dungeons. He made snacks and cakes for everyone to prove his worth. He baked so much, his oven became a masterwork. Welcome the dawning, our time for each other, our time for love, our time to recover. The year may take from us more than we ask, but the dawning is the time for us to give back. And if you ever lose your light in the dark, the dawning will always be there as a spark. It will light the path wherever you roam and guide whomever needs to find their way home.